Imtiaz, welcome to India today. It is so good to see you. I remember the last time I met you, I almost congratulated you for Chamkila in advance, and you were very cautious. You were like, "भाई लोगों को pictures देखने तो दे, music सुनने तो दे, then let's chat after." So
Yeah,
here we are. Chamkila is out for the world. Chamkila is out for the world to enjoy, to absorb, to watch, to go on that emotional journey. Uh, Great time to speak about Chamkila and what's been happening post Chamkila, how you've been processing it. How has it been? Your phone must be busy, text messages, calls, just things from all over the place. How has it been?
yeah. I try to use my phone as little as possible as a rule, and now it's my battery is actually dying out before the day is out. So yeah, it's overwhelming. It's really overwhelming the kind of response that's happening with the film, and your prophetic quality has been tested and proved right. I'm very appreciative and very happy, thankful. Also internally a bit like I feel that changed because of this response to Chamkila. But I feel that this is the endearing. This is the refrain that thank you for making. It's like almost people thanking me and us for having made this film. That is the most overwhelming feeling.
Tell me, when you set out to make a film, when you're writing on that piece of paper, when you go back to the writing table or narration, or when that seed is sown, and when that idea emerges, do you have anything in your mind in terms of this is what I want to achieve with this particular story, or this is what I think the end goal of this particular project should be? I would want people to emote, react in a certain way. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. With Chamkila, what was your motive?
Not when I started, but later on, I had this feeling that I hope their hearts melt.
Hmm.
I hope that everybody that watches this film feels a certain emotional relief in this film. I had this in my mind, and perhaps this is the only time that I've had a kind of a milestone or an ambition like that.
To pick up on that note, I mean, for me, I think Chamkila was absolutely an emotional experience because so little known about this guy. You go to Wikipedia, you go to Google, you read all of that. Those are figures and facts and numbers and sentences, right?
Right.
But when you watch it, when you see him in flesh and blood, and when you see what the little stories and the little narratives that have gone in his life, and so much of wrong information, so many assumptions that have been made, and I don't feel like you set out to correct those assumptions. When I watched it, I didn't feel like it was a project that you were trying to whitewash somebody, or you wanted me to leave the theater or the screening after and having this thought that, oh, ये तो अच्छा इंसान है यार, इसने तो कहाँ कुछ गलत लिखा है, इसके गानों में तो मतलब vulgarity थी. I feel you've managed to do that in such a way that it doesn't feel coercive. It doesn't feel like you're setting out to do it. It's so subtle and it's so organic that everybody has felt different about who he was, what his songs meant. What has been your takeaway if I had to ask you, if you had to distance yourself, say, from this and just watch it like, a person who's watching somebody's life? What has been your take?
Well, I feel that there were certain things that were very important and very like things that I've learned from Chamkila. There are some things like that. But going on to the first part of your question, I feel that I was attracted to make a film on somebody's life because it was so great. The character had all the fault lines that society itself has. And it gets proved that he's just a product of that society, whether you can condemn him because he is faulty. He wrote lyrics that were vulgar, but he is also catering to the society. So if you want to pass judgment on him, can you also self-judge then? And then can we also throw light on who decides what is right or wrong, etc., etc. So I feel that the story of Chamkila was also the story of a certain duplicity or of society. And not to even judge society is important because, like Chamkila said, that this is the world that has given me everything. So I can't turn around and say that the world is unfair.
Right.
Right. But you have to accept, and it was so I was very attracted to this, and I wanted Chamkila to come across exactly what I thought he was, with all the fault lines, because then it becomes a narrative about a larger entity, which is society, which is people itself, which is Punjab during the 80s. and the world itself. Because you see, come to think of it, this is a very universal story. This is not the only place where this kind of an incident has happened.
Yes.
Young singers have lost their lives very early after immense success everywhere in the world, and mostly in the Western world.
Yes.
A rare case. There have been folk artists in India as well, but mostly, you've seen so many young artists losing their lives, sometimes to violence, and having a very fragmented opinion about their songs, being blamed for the way that they write and perform. So, and I hope that the story reaches across beyond the frontiers of India and the diaspora for this one. Yes, I did not try to whitewash Chamkila because I think his humanness is important. I think making somebody moralistically right to the norms of a prevalent society is a boring thing to do. And I did not want to do that.
Also that screening that you had, I think it's been a while since we saw that sort of just that energy, that rush, that adrenaline excitement, so much love, right? It's been
Yeah.
a while since we've seen that outpour. Just talk to me about that because I'm guessing that's a memory that you've locked and kept somewhere and it's always going to stay.
So the MAMI screening was the first screening of this film. That was the first outing of Chamkila. Till then, only the unit members were watching it. And so when we presented that film over there to a theater, which really looked like Chamkila's Akhada because it was overfull. People were standing outside. People were on the aisle, and as many people were sitting everywhere else as on seats. It was really an overfull atmosphere. And I must say, it was so heartwarming that every nuance was picked up. Everything that we have put in so many different kinds of media in this film. There are things on the screen that are being written. There is old footage. There is black and white images of the original Chamkila and Amarjot. Things are very different things have been tried in this film. And everything landed extremely well. It really, I feel that screening, the MAMI screening was just like, I felt that this is why I've made the film. This is really the payment, the repayment of this film. I've got everything back that I have given to this. Because there was a community of film lovers, of dreamers, really. And I felt so united to that community. And I'm so happy that I got to experience that. Because it was really, this is family for us. This is why we come
Right.
to this Bombay city.
Absolutely. What a moment to have. And talk to me a bit about how the immediate family felt, because for them to sit in those chairs and watch that must be something that words can't describe, right? Did they
Yes.
come to you, say things?
Yeah, they were, I think, overwhelmed, especially Chamkila's first wife, Gurmail Kaur. She was overwhelmed. She hugged me, she cried, and she said exactly in Punjabi, she said exactly, it was exactly like this. However, her role is small because for the one half of the film, I did not want to reveal that there exists a Gurmail Kaur.
Right.
And um, the son was very overwhelmed because he was actually seeing his father's story, on screen. The son and daughter, they were overwhelmed. They were very moved. They were brought to tears. Um, and they really, like, we hugged, all of us group hugged, and then we clicked many photos together. Clicking photos together is also, I feel, in the modern era, a type of expression of affection, because you
Yes.
get to hug a person for a moment more when you click that picture. So that happened with us a lot. We clicked many pictures and we hugged each other a lot.
I recently met Parineeti and I absolutely enjoyed her performance as Amarjot. It was such a surprise because we didn't know what to expect from her, and I think she delivered. She said a very interesting thing. She said, there was a phase in my career where films were not working, directors were not wanting to work with me, producers had stopped calling me. I was going through a tough phase. And thanks to an Imtiaz Ali who saw me and who decided to cast me, he saw Amarjot in me. And it is so important for people like Imtiaz and more in the future to give work to artists who might not be relevant at that time, might not have followers on social media, might not have the clout that a production house wants to have, right? You have never checked those boxes before making films. You've always gone with what you wanted to make, who you wanted to cast. How did you approach Parineeti? Because Parineeti, I mean, was she one of the few? Was she the only one? Were you looking at more people? What was the process like to cast Amarjun?
Parineeti was the only one because Parineeti is a singer. I knew that she's a singer. Parineeti is Punjabi. That also was a good thing because she knew the language, she could speak the language, and then the tone and dialect that Amarjot spoken, it was possible for Parineeti to pick that up. Thirdly, I have always wanted to work with Parineeti because from her first film, I believe that this girl is a very good actor. And the world knows, you know. Luckily, in my career, I have had varying chances with the so-called success of or the position of stars, so to speak. You know, not all the films that have had the most relevant stars or actors, not relevant, but the most at that moment successful,
Right.
top-pitted actors have been, you know, in the measure as beneficial for me for the film. You know, I remember a time when Shahid and Kareena came into Jab We Met, and then I was told that, you know, we can get a better casting because at that point, Shahid and Kareena were not doing well.
Right.
I've made but it worked so much. You know, people love that film, right? So I feel that I, as a filmmaker, should not be looking at the film market like stock exchange. Speculation is not what is really needed from a film director or a filmmaker or a producer as well. One must see the potential of a certain person in the role that you're offering them.
Right.
And that is when it works. I feel, in my experience, that's my learning. That's what has worked for me or the films that I've made, and I just continue doing that.
Diljit is having the time of his life right now. He's performing to sold out shows and arenas in Canada. And it's exciting to see people run up to him, send messages for Chamkila, request those songs. And he's equally gratified with that. He's so overwhelmed by it. How has it been post the release? Have you guys stayed in touch? What are the kind of chats you've been having with him?
So, Diljit is a very reserved person.
Yes.
And on stage is a different entity, but he's a very reserved person. And I feel that, yes, we are in touch with each other. And yes, when from his performances, I get clips. I'm very looking forward to what he's doing, how he's doing, not only regards to Chamkila, but in life also, because he's a very pure person. I haven't really enjoyed the time with him. He's just not the kind of quantity I've ever worked with. You know, he's a very different person. He's a very real person. And he's a very truthful and a non-showy person. But he's reserved. So for him to make an expression is difficult, you know, very cute that way.
And he's so emotional and he's so honest and raw. Like I remember when you guys had that event in Bombay, he broke down in tears. He equally is so overwhelmed and emotional when anybody goes to him and talks about Chunky or the effect that his performance has had on people. For him also to have this experience, because he's a global superstar in his own right, so hugely popular, has millions of followers, right? But like you said, so rightly grounded, so humble, so in touch with his roots. I mean, just working with him also must have been an experience.
And I'm so glad. I'm like really I'm personally very glad that he's doing so well because I feel, deserves it. I feel that he has everything technically that it takes to be what he is, but he also has a certain mind and a soul to be that. And somehow I feel that very gratified because he's opening those doors that were close to Indian artists. I feel that it's a moment of national pride when an overseas arena gets booked and oversold for his show. You know, no Indian artist has performed to that capacity. And these kind of shows were not given to Indian artists. There is a certain thing over there. There is a breakthrough that he's had. And now the door is open, people can follow. It's a moment of national pride, I feel.
I quickly want to speak to you about the music of Chamkila because we can't have this chat without that. You did live singing on set, and Has that sort of opened a door in you, or a window in you to now do this more often? Are you going to find out avenues and sneak in ways to do it more often? Because absolutely, I'm guessing again that's going to stay with you forever, right? Because you've not had that for a long time, this
Oh,
experience.
yes, you are quite a prophetic type guy. I do have this in my mind. I would love to do this again. And there are some singers that do sing, and to all others, I recommend that they do practice singing, even for the quality of their performances. And if we can have live singing in films, it will be really awesome. I really enjoyed this experience and this opportunity. I kind of grabbed it with both hands when it came my way. And I'm very thankful to the talent of Diljit Dosanjh and Parineeti Chopra who made it possible for me. And also the technical staff, Dhiman and Rahman sir, basically, who could really orient this technically for me to be able to do. And I am going to find opportunities of sneaking this into my storytelling in the future. Hopefully, I'll succeed.
Also, to just let you know, there is an online sort of campaign going on to make you the brand ambassador of every Punjabi story ever made. Like nobody is allowed now to touch Fox stories, real, realistic stories. In fact, there is this whole chat going on how Bhagat Singh and all these previous films should be just now made with Imtiaz at the helm. What do you make of that? Because I know how you are attached to the culture, the plays, the music, everything.
It's a blessing. I less said the better, but I think it's a blessing, and I don't know who to thank for it. But I feel that there is something there that I'm perhaps seeking. There is a blessing. I'm thankful.
Imtiaz, congratulations. Chamkila is being watched over and over again. I am so glad that you made this. I'm so glad that we got to watch this. And just a line for fans now who are going to stop you and ask you for what's next. What's the one line secret code that you can leave us with? Given how elusive you are, I'm going to try and put that across.
I've written a few stories that I want to get into. I'm trying to figure out where to go. But yes, I have written a new story that I'm trying to get into. I'm taking a few learnings from Chamkila, just a few, one or two things that I want to extend. It has given me a sense of like a kind of nudge to dive deeper and be more heartfelt in my filmmaking. And I hope to hold the audience closely to my heart in the next film. That's all I can say.
That's enough for us to be excited and keep our phones open and news information trickling in. Congratulations again, and thank you for this lovely.
Thank you so much.